Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. We're going to get right to the show after these messages. You know, I love podcasting. I have since 2006, back when you had to use like a Dixie cup with string to make the thing work. And that's why I'm so excited that we recently moved Mysterious Goings On to Anchor FM to record our podcast. I gotta tell you, I don't regret it a bit. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. I'm not going to lie to you, when I first heard about Anchor, I was a little dubious because I've been doing it the hard way for so long. But I got to tell you, it's very easy. Use a Stripe account. Get sponsors. You're not paying monthly hosting fees. The sound quality is great. The distribution is phenomenal. Friends, download the free Anchor app today if you want to start your own podcast, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Remember, you heard it here first on Mysterious Goings On. Well, here's something different. It's just me. There's no guest this week, or actually there is a guest this week, but this is a special little bonus edition with just yours truly. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I hadn't really thought much about doing it. I did think maybe like right before the election, I'd written this whole manifesto in my head about why you should vote a certain way, and then just got down to it, and I just figured, the last thing people need is me chiming in. Everybody who listens to this show on a regular basis knows where I stand. So I had some good factual reasons, I think, backing up my stance, but that's not the point. But the other day I was talking to a fellow writer, a colleague, who I was talking about the show and about how it's just gone. Well, he said this, your show is just crazy. All these great guests, all these other writers, these creative people that you're getting on. It's wonderful. And I said, yeah, I said, it's gotten to the point where I have to kind of throttle back. I have to put a governor, like there's a governor on certain cars so they don't speed too fast. I kind of have to put a governor on my scheduling just to hold back the tide, because word's getting out. And a lot of publicists and publicity firms have got our number now. I mean, they literally call me from New York or LA saying, we've got this great author. We want to get him on. We'll send you a book for review, blah, blah, blah. And it's fantastic. I love it. But it's really just been a roller coaster. And of course, you don't want the ride to end. And especially if you're trying to grow a show, you got to keep it going. But my friend said, but come on, man. He says, I miss just having you sit down in front of the mic and update us on your life and your thoughts, and maybe not having to listen to an author. And he didn't say like having to listen, but maybe not listening to a guest for a while. And I thought, well, it was flattering. And it was also a good point in that I should check in a little bit and just, tell you that while I did start this podcast as a means of talking to others in the creative arts, but I also did it to promote my own stuff and tell you about where I'm coming from. So I'm going to do that. And again, thank you, my friend. You know who you are, for venturing to say that. I have missed it. I try to do these pretty well stream of consciousness and not edit them. So if there's some ums and ahs and I go off on some tangents, I hope you'll understand and will appreciate that it's just a little bit of raw production here. I think part of the thing too is it just, for every episode, if you listen to Mysterious Goings On a regular basis, you'll see that our interview episodes are anywhere from 30 minutes, which was really on the lean side. And that just depends on the author's schedule and frankly how succinct they are. If we cover all their points and I don't see anywhere else to go, we end at pretty close to 30 minutes or so. And then we go all the way up to 50, 55 minutes, sometimes more. And that's by the way, not a
necessarily a judgment on whether I find an author more interesting than others. It just could be they have more stories to tell. They're a little more verbose in a good way, or they get me going and I'm, excited and I start mouthing off about my life and talk about theirs. It just depends, So I hope you like the mix, but but you do the interview. So let's just call it an hour to get ready for the interview, conduct the interview, and then start getting the files the right way. Because right when I get done, I get a file, usually because we record most of them by Zoom, I get a file and I have to take that file and then convert it to an MP3. Then I dump it into an editing platform where I do try to go in and zap some ums and ahs, or if there was a mistake or we had a glitch, or I just said something incredibly stupid, or the author said something or the guest of me said something they'd like to take out. I'll go zap that stuff. And then while it's fresh in my mind, I take that finished file, I put it in the queue. I write up usually everything I want to say with links and all that about the episode because it's fresh in my mind. But, I can always come back later and put it in the queue. And as we are talking right now, it's Tuesday, March 9th. And I actually am talking to you because I had a guest cancel, which has only happened about 3 times in the past 5 or 6 years, or is it 5 years? I've been doing this since 2016. I can only count about 3 times that I can recall. And it was at the last minute. And she was a guest in the Middle East from Oman, a writer from Oman. And she just said something came up, and that's fine. Of course, if she wants to reschedule, she's going to have to wait a while because life goes on. But I have this free hour, and I thought, well, let's use it for something here. So what I do that, and I've mentioned how my process and getting it ready. So right now, as we speak, again, see, I told you I'm not going to edit this thing. Just going to blather. Looks like we have 3 episodes in the can, which just means recorded and ready to go. One will be coming out this week. As I'm speaking to you, there's a gentleman who wrote kind of a Tom Clancy-ish book that really has a very frightening premise that is real and scary. Then we have a really interesting guest coming up too in a couple of weeks. Hybrid Publishing and Local Lore. She's wonderful, Michelle Cox. I just love her. She is just a fantastic interview. It's so much fun. And speaking of fantastic interview and so much fun, Rachel Noel, one of the few poets I've ever interviewed. You got to check in on that one. Those are the 3 that are done. So if you're listening, I'll assume you're interested in this. So here we go. So here's the thing. So remember, I have Mysterious Goings On and I have PR After Hours, which is more of a straight-laced business PR, marketing, management, productivity kind of show, which is a lot shorter. It's usually no longer than 30 minutes. And if it's just me talking on those, it's 10 or 15. But those 2 together, like today at 12:30, I have an interview for PR After Hours. Tomorrow at 11, I have an interview with a creativity expert for MGO from Mysterious Goings On. And then at 1, I snagged a really great PR After Hours interview with a dear friend and colleague of mine who is one of the leaders in the freelance work movement, the gig economy movement. She's been a client of mine and a friend off and on, Julie Cortez. So she'll be on. I hope I'm not jinxing all this. I hope they don't all cancel tomorrow because I said that they would be on. And then, I have dental work the next day. I'm looking at my calendar. And then I'm good. So then the following week, though, so there you go. There's 3 more interviews I'm going to do this week, right? And then the following week I won't go through everything. I've got 1, 2, 3 more interviews for both, depending. I don't know. Let's see. Are they for both shows? Yeah, these are all for PR After Hours. And then the following week I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interviews for MGO that week. Crazy. And following week, I have 1 MGO, 1 PR After Hours. No, 2 PR After Hours. Jeez Louise. Or no, that's 1. Well, shoot. It's a lot. Anyway, and then it just goes on and on. There's at least 20, between the 2 shows, there's at least 20 interviews that are scheduled. So I talked to you earlier about, putting a governor on this thing, right? Just kind of slowing it down. Well, I set up my interviews through a calendar app called Calendly, and I had to go. I've talked about this before. I had to go when I first got it. I was excited because I was trying to automate my process because usually it's back and forth, several emails. And then I thought, Calendly can do this. And I'll put a link where they can put in their information and their, their topics and their website and all the stuff I need to get to prepare for the interview and to post in the show notes later, all that stuff in one spot. But here's the thing. You attach Calendly to your Gmail calendar or whatever calendar you use. And I neglected to think ahead. And I initially just said, okay, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Well, I had a couple of weeks there because I wasn't thinking very carefully where I just had stuff stacked up like crazy. I had just interviews just right and left where I couldn't get any actual paying work done. Not that I had a lot, but because of COVID, but still. So that got to a point where I thought, wow, I'm going to take this down to make it 3 days of availability with a 2-hour window per day with a maximum of 2 shows per day recorded. That's what I did for 3 days. I did that for about a month and it was still too much. So now what I've done, I've got it down to 2 days a week. I believe we just record on, there's a few that have been scheduled out, right? But basically, the schedule is we record on Tuesdays and Wednesdays between around 10:30 or 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Central Time. And we knock those out. And with a maximum of 2 interviews per day. I just can't do any more than that per day. I could, but my voice gets raw, my attention span wanders, I get tired, all that stuff. It's just natural, if you talk all day. Can you imagine being a radio host, which I used to be, but I wasn't every day. I was once a week. I cannot imagine having to talk like the late Rush Limbaugh, who I disliked intensely for a lot of reasons, was very good at one thing, and that was just going off unscripted entertainingly for 3 hours a day. I didn't find him entertaining, but you can't argue that the man was a champion broadcaster in that regard. Well, I can't imagine doing that. I think I could do that, but it would be a lot of hard work because I don't know about you, but I just get mentally fried after talking to people for a few hours. If I'm stuck in meeting hell, for clients where we're in meetings for a couple hours and then I get a break and I have to work and then I have to do more meetings. By the end of the day, I'm so mentally exhausted. I just can't function. So I think that's how I'd be if I did this show every day. And that's how I was getting to be when I was stupid and didn't understand that I needed to not only limit the days that I recorded, but the hours, and then make sure there was a buffer between shows and then limit the shows finally. Okay. Wow. People who don't care how the sausage is made are already tuning out of this episode. I understand that. So what else? What else is going on besides me just loving, and wishing I could get paid? If I could get paid to be a podcaster, if I could get paid to do this and just interview cool people, that's why I'm trying to sell some advertising, hint, hint. That's why I'm trying to get sponsorships, hint, hint. That's why I've got links where you can donate to the tip jar, hint, hint, all that stuff. If I could do this for a living, a reasonable living, I would. I love it so much. And I get a few backhanded compliments from friends and family who finally listen to an episode or two and they're like, wow, that's better than I thought it would be. And I'm like, well, thank you. That's mighty kind of you to say. But I know what they meant. They just mean there's people who are not into podcasts, who don't listen very often. It's kind of like 10 years ago when everybody was like, hey, would you read my blog? And, a lot of the blogs just weren't very good. And there's a lot of podcasts out there right now that aren't very good. And there's a slight barrier to entry for a lot of people who, not you're listening to a podcast, which reminds me, if you're listening to a podcast, then you know how to subscribe to a podcast. And I hope you're subscribing to this one, please. And that's not even a hint. That's a direct ask. Please subscribe and rate and review. There's always a link in the show notes that explains on mgopod.com how to rate and review the show, and a 5-star review would be tremendous. Anyway, I understand that a lot of people, it's like the same people who, it's like the similar situation as people who they'll only read books that are on the New York Times bestseller list, or they'll only, read something, or they'll only go to a movie that's been reviewed favorably by whoever the movie review du jour maven is these days. I mean, for me, it was Siskel and Ebert back in the day. Of course, they're both gone, even though Ebert's website still has a lot of reviewers. Or they go to Rotten Tomatoes and they look at the aggregate. People need an imprimatur of establishment approval, I think, to a lot of people, not all, obviously, not you folks, obviously, but a lot of them need an establishment credential to go do that. Otherwise, you kind of get patted on the head. It's kind of like when I first came out with my independently published books, patted on the head. Oh, isn't that nice? Couldn't get published by a real publisher. Oh, that kind of stuff, which, I'm not going to lie, it was galling. It was galling for a couple of reasons. It was galling because my work's as good as anybody else's, but there's competition, there's gatekeepers. There's just so much that goes into it. But I, like so many other independent authors, decided my work's not going to sit in a drawer. I make a pledge to my readers that I'm going to write as best I can, and I'm not going to turn over something or publish something that's half baked or crap. You may not like it, but it's going to always be my best work every time. And so it got old after a while, and now I laugh it off. I mean, for a while there, I bristled about it when people go, "Oh, self-published." Well, and even when I have a little imprint, Caroline Street Press, with me now, not a big publisher by any means. I just kind of wear it as a badge of honor. I do so much work on these books and so proud of it. And so many of these people I interview are in the same boat. I mean, I interview traditionally published, and God bless them. And by the way, when we have the Michelle Cox interview, be sure to listen to that one, because she's a hybrid type. She's done both. We've had many writers who've done that, and there's pros and cons to all of them. But I think the stigma is going away on that. There'll always be crappy books that are put out there because it's so easy just to upload a Word file and a crappy cover and say, "Look at me, I wrote a book. Here, it's on my bucket list. It's checked off the list." There's always going to be that. And there's always going to be people who get on a podcast and it's two guys going, the show starts and it's going to be maybe a sports show. And they like, "Hey, welcome to the sports show. Hey, how you doing, Dave?" "Hey, I'm good, Steve. Doing all right? How was your weekend?" "It was all right, man." What else?" "Well, I saw a movie." And they spend like 10 minutes doing that kind of crap. We're talking about the weather. And then they say, "Oh yeah, we got a guest." And then the audio is crap. And then I have a problem with those kinds of podcasts. I also have a problem with podcasts where people do interviews, but it's very evident they're just reading off of a piece of paper and not really interacting. And I can't tell you how many publicists and guests who've said to me, "Thank God after the show's over, we kind of chit-chatting after I turn off the recorder. I've done so many of these where the hosts are just sticks of wood and they don't vary outside the questions that they've lined out to ask. And it's not a conversation. I was like, yeah, well, I couldn't do that. That just bores the hell out of me. I don't want to listen to that. And I damn sure don't want to produce and record and host that kind of stuff." So speaking of my writing, wasn't that a great segue, folks? Speaking of my writing, I wanted to let you know where things are. Two things. One, the next and possibly, yes, last book in the John Pilot mystery series, it'll be the 8th book, is about, I'd say, halfway done. The draft is about halfway done. And the way I work, I'm working extremely slowly on this because of a lot of reasons. COVID was not a friend to me as my writing. I had a hard time focusing, enough excuses, just didn't get it done. I have that work, and a lot of my work is writing. And for me, that muscle gets worn out pretty quick. I mean, I'm good to write about 4 or 5 hours a day. And if I spend those hours writing for work, writing content, writing press releases, whatever I might be doing, it's hard for me to stay in this chair and start over and start writing about John Pilot and company. Although I got to say, it's a delight once I get into it. It's just, I dread it because that muscle's tired. That's why I've been writing a lot more on the weekends. It seems like I can come in here on a Saturday, and just close the door, and it's like, it's Wonderland. It's like, I don't have to worry about answering the phone. I don't have to worry about checking email. I can just write. I can just inhabit those characters and catch up with those characters, and they take me where they want to go. I love that. And I'll do that on a Sundays as well. But my process is to get the draft done. Actually, what I do, I'll just tell you real quick if you're interested. If you're not, fast forward, or you can always start it off. But here's what I like to do. When I write, I get that draft on the paper. I don't worry too awful much about plot or anything, and I'm a pantser anyway. I have an idea for a book, usually a concept, a direction, and then I just start writing. I'm not good at outlining stuff, and I don't stick to outlines anyway because I let the characters guide me. They decide where they want to go. And so I will knock out the story, and usually that's anywhere from 40 to 65,000 words, just depends. I've usually closer to 60,000 words, 62,000 words, although Pilot Shadow, my last one, was more of a novella, very smaller, like a 26,000 word book. But typically I'm writing that direction, a couple of 100 plus pages. That seems to be my sweet spot for my attention span and for my readers. So that's what I do. I get that on the page, and let's say I write anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 words per session. I need to be able to write 1,000 words a day, and that's a discipline thing. And on days that I've scheduled where I don't have to do a lot of writing for work, I should be writing for John Pilot. So I'm working on that. But I get it done, and then the next day when I come back to it, next time I sit back down, I reread it, make a few edits here and there, clarity, make some notes, and then I just pick up where I left off and start writing and get to 1,000 to 3,000 words, whatever I feel like again. And I just keep doing that, wash, rinse, repeat, and keep doing that until I get the draft where I want it. Once that draft's done, then it goes in a drawer, so to speak. It goes in a file on my desktop, and I leave it alone for a couple of weeks, maybe 3. And then I'll come back and I'll reread it, make notes, and go, oh, okay, wow, that's terrible, or, oh, that's pretty good. And I do that on every other page. It's good on every other page. It's terrible on every other page usually. And I start working on, well, how do I fix this? Or if the story is just crap, if it's just, to me, it doesn't move me, it's too slow, it's not interesting, whatever, I go back and I fix whole big chunks of it and keep going. Or if it's going really well, which has happened a couple of times. I got to say, my second book, Pilot's Key, my first book took me over a year to get done, basically. Pilot's Key took me 3 months for the draft. I think another 3 or 4 months rewrites and edits, and it was pretty well out there. I think the book was, you can quote me, I guess. I might be wrong. I think it was a good 6 months or so. 7 months maybe, and then it was done. This one's way longer than that, and it seems like it takes me longer with every book. I guess because I'm getting old too, which is normal, I think. There's only so many good years in a writer, in my opinion, and then there's a declination. But also with me, there's just the topic of of the series and all that, which I'll get to in a moment. But anyway, so I will get that done. I will get that second draft done. And then I'll do I'll put it away for another few days, and then I'll go after it again, and I'll just do what I call a polish. And by then it's ready to be sent to Robert, my editor, who spends a few weeks on it. And, he tears it up, makes suggestions. He doesn't just edit. He's not a copy editor, just, finding grammar mistakes and crap like that. I mean, and I don't really need that much. I'm pretty practiced after writing for over 30 years, but also there's programs, grammar pickups that Word will pick up and all that stuff. But he also looks at, plot issues and logic issues, and he remembers enough usually about the other books that preceded it to make sure that I'm staying within canon, keeping it all legit in that way, making sure that, John Pilot doesn't have a sister because he said he only had a brother, and I can't just be like Star Trek and walk in, hey, Spock, you have a brother. Oh, and 20 years later, Spock, you got a sister nobody knew about. I hate crap like that. So he helps me make sure I'm there with that. And I also have some really good beta readers to do the same. And so when that's done, he turns that back to me. I can accept or reject the changes, polish it up, get it done. And at the same time, I've already got a title picked out, which I don't reveal to the public until we're about ready to launch. And then I turned over to Jason. I say, this is the title. This is where we're going. And I don't tell him much because he doesn't have room. It's a cover. He doesn't have more room to put more than 1 or 2 concepts in there. And then he goes to work. He works pretty quickly usually. And he and I are pretty simpatico. I think we've only really butted heads once, and that was on the book I did with my grandpa, the cover for that one. I wanted something that was a lot more involved than he thought it needed to be, and he was ultimately right. I mean, my concept would have been great, but it would have cost too much and all that. But he was ultimately right. He did a beautiful, beautiful job on Big Cabin and Dispatches from the West. So he gets that done, and then we get it ready to go. Now, one thing I do plan to do this time, I don't plan to just dump it out there. I do plan to make available some advanced reader copies, ARCs. I want to make some copies available to a number of you listeners. I mean, seriously, anywhere from 5 to 10 of you would be great to beta read it and come back at me and just maybe I offer it to you with a questionnaire. You get the book, and then I ask you for honest opinions, and then I ask you if you like it to give me a quote that could be a blurb on the back cover, that kind of thing. And that seems to be the direction I'm going to go. And I'm going to do some pre-ordering too. I want you guys to read it first, you 5 or 10 of you, whoever wants to do it. And then, oops, somebody's calling me. See, I'm not going to edit that out. All right. Anyway, so you guys will get some advanced beta readers to do this and I'll give everybody like 60 days, 90 days, whatever they need to do it. And towards the end of that process, we'll go ahead and start a pre-order on Amazon and get some of those sales knocked out so that by the day we actually officially launch, we've already got some sales made and we can make more of a splash that way and sell more books that way. So that's the plan. Again, I'm talking to you in March 9th, 2021. And my, of course, man plans, God laughs, as has been said in the John Pilot books before. But whenever John Pilot wants to plan something. So that's the plan. My friend Michael Zuffa, who's been on the show, The Constant Reader, he's like, I'm not going to pin you down on the exact date, but is the pilot book coming at least this year? I think he asked me. And yes, it will be this year. Whether it's middle of summer or early fall, I don't know. But with everything all included, it shouldn't be any later than fall. I really don't think it should be. It just depends on how quickly my editor can work and how quickly I can get it all on paper and sent to him, and how quickly my ARC readers can get through it. And we'll just see. So I want to tell you this real quick while you're listening. If you are interested, and I'll ask plenty of you, but if I don't ask, don't be offended, please. And you can ask me first if you're interested. If you want an ARC copy, an advanced reader copy, all I ask is you get it for free. It will be a PDF. I'll email it to you. It won't be printed, obviously, because it's not in print yet. You'll have to read it on your laptop or put it on a Kindle or a tablet, but that's however you want to do that. I mean, I might be able to figure out different formats. I'm not sure about that. I'll look into that. But I will get it to you and just ask you to agree to read it within 30 to 45 days, maybe. I mean, ideally 30 would be great. And my books are pretty quick reads, but ask you to read it and then get back to me with your honest thoughts on the book, any mistakes you found or questions you have, but also then just based on the read, even if there are problems with the book, just give me a blurb about what you did like about it. I mean, I think that would be a hoot and helpful. If you look at the series now with the wonderful covers Jason did, you'll see there are Amazon reviews quoted on every back cover. And we're going to do the same format, but it'd be great to get some reviews ahead of time on this book so that when it's published, it's ready to go. And we have that set. So if you are interested, I'm going to give you my personal email, folks. So here it is. I get spam anyway. So here it goes. Alex, ALEX, at ALEXG as in Greenwood, P as in public, R as in relations.com. That's Alex, ALEX, at AlexGPR.com. Email me, subject line, ARC, A-R-C, and then just say, hey, I'd love to get a copy of the next pilot book to help you, help make sure it's as best it can be and offer you my thoughts. So here's the thing. You have to agree to a couple of things, though. First thing you have to agree to is you will not reveal to others the title of the book. You will not share this copy with anybody without asking me first, because I'm going to limit it to just a few people. Like I say, 5 would be grand, 10 would be incredible, but I'm probably going to keep it to 5-ish. And who knows? There may not be 5 people on the whole planet who want to read it ahead of time anyway. But you have to agree to keep it to yourself. If you do want to read it, or you have a friend and think they liked it, just let me know, and I'll be cool. I want to know who's got the manuscript, and you agree, obviously, not to upload it to the web or anything like that. And yeah, and all you thieves listening out there, you can't upload it and put your name on it. Some book called Pilot's Class, but you take out the apostrophe and it's Pilates class. Yeah, see, I see how you're thinking. I get you. So if you're interested, Alex at AlexGPR.com. And I'll be taking down people's names. I'll be taking down your names and email addresses and all that, and your format, whatever format you prefer. And when the manuscript is ready, I'll fire it off to you. And again, I ask you to obviously read it, protect it, and answer a brief questionnaire about it at the end. And then what I will also do is all my beta readers will get an autographed copy of the final printed book. Now that'll be months down the road, but to thank you for your work, and to thank you for your honest opinions. Hopefully the book's good and you have good things to say. I will send you a copy of the paperback autographed from me to you. So that's the big thing on the books. Okay. That's the thing. If you want to get in on this now, never say never again, as Sean Connery learned. But look, probably going to be the last pilot book. And I know you're shaking your head going, whatever, and I know you hear that from me a lot, but I think it's time. You get in the middle of this series that really was supposed to be a one-off book that became a trilogy that was supposed to be done. And then I kept getting pulled back. Not just by requests from readers, which there were plenty, but just me. I miss these characters, but now I'm finding it's at a point where I think, though, The pilot series, which I adore, is my baby, always will be, and I reserve the right to come back to it, I guess. But I think it's kind of like a stopper in a bottle for me right now. I want to write other things. I have a horror novel I've got in mind. I really do. I have a seriously scary horror novel I want to write, but I don't have the mental focus to, I don't know. It's weird. If I have something hanging over my head, and I always feel like John Pilot's hanging over my head, like Simon's hanging over his shoulder, I just feel like I need to get this book out, end it on a note where it's pretty final, maybe not final like dead final, but final, and then get on with some other stuff. And I have thoughts about potentially trying to go the traditional route. I don't know. I talk about that a lot with Michelle Cox, which her interview comes out in a couple of weeks. Please subscribe and you won't miss it. I talk about that, how she's the same way, and we would love it if these books that we kind of put out in a hybrid way can be our back catalog down the road. Maybe we write a really good book that we get traditionally published with an agent helping us, and then down the road, maybe there'll be interest shown in these. I don't know. Could be a pipe dream, but there's a lot of things I want to try. And that was the path I was on in 2008 when I first was pitching the first book, Pilot's Cross, to agents. And I had some strong interest, and the economy crapped out. And I just decided, after querying 100 agents or so and getting about 3 of them who were interested, one of them very interested, and then she had to back off because she said the economy was tanking, if you remember 2008. And then I had a kid born that year, and just so much happened. I just like, I'll just go on my own. But I don't know. There's some part of me, I think a lot about my grandpa, who was traditionally published for over 50 years. I think there's some of that in me too. And I want to see if I can try it. Who knows? I may get into it and realize, not for you, buddy. You're just going to have to publish it yourself, and we'll go from there. So those are some thoughts. I probably going to have to take a little break here, but I'll be back in a minute. Hey folks, we're going to take a quick break in the episode. I probably mentioned here and there that I have another podcast called PR After Hours. PR After Hours is basically an after-hours virtual lounge where public relations, marketing, and general business professionals get together and have a laid-back conversation about what they do and how we can help each other. It's great tips if you're running a business, or if you're part of a PR or marketing team, or you own your own business. I guarantee you'll learn a lot of stuff. It's a twice-weekly show. We've been doing it for a year now. Very proud of it, and you can get it right here on Anchor FM or pretty much wherever you get quality podcasts. But if you want to learn more information about PR After Hours, please visit prafterhours.com. I hope you'll check it out. It's a little bit different vibe, obviously, than Mysterious Goings On, but also I think if you're not careful, you might learn something and have a laugh or two as well. Thanks so much. Again, that's PR After Hours on Anchor FM. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, huh? Not quite, Mysterious Goings On listeners. You probably haven't got the brand new Mysterious Goings On official t-shirt. This is a quality cotton t-shirt coming in a premium unisex tee version and a women's slim fit tee version in all the sizes you could possibly need. These are great quality shirts coming in a variety of colors, including dark heather gray, black, charcoal, maroon. And on the women's t-shirt, we come in dark heather gray, black, charcoal, indigo, and midnight navy. There you go. Check them out. They are in the show notes. The link is right there. They're being sold on Bonfire. They're typically sold in batches, and they'll come at you pretty quickly. All the instructions are on the website. The link is in the show notes here or at mgopod.com. Again, show the world, well, at least show the world on Zoom, or show the world when we can finally really get out and about. Show the world that you have some mysterious goings-ons of your own by wearing our t-shirt, and help support this show. Thank you so much. Welcome back. I hope you'll consider buying one of those t-shirts. And also, we have tumblers and mugs and all sorts of stuff. There'll be links in the show notes. Just wanted to tell you those help us pay for things a little bit and get the word out and stuff like that. And we'll probably do some giveaways down the road with some of these things too. It's just kind of a process to do that, but plenty of things to get shirty with, and plenty of things for your beverages to wear and all that. So check it out. And of course, there's always a link on Amazon.com to go buy my stuff. Wanted to just a couple of housekeeping things while we've been talking. For just $1.99 a month, you can help keep MGO in production, bringing you the interviews, news, monologues, and more we have offered since 2016. And supporting is easy. Just visit our website homepage, mgopod.com, scroll down, and use our secure links to contribute via PayPal or debit card. You can start just a subscription, $1.99 a month, or give as much as you like. $1.99 is the basic level, but you can give 99 cents if you want. Just once a month for $5, $10. Anybody who gives over $10 will get a nice surprise. I will tell you that. If you give $10 a month for, let's say for at least more than 3 months, you'll get a nice surprise. I promise. But really, you're doing it because you like this show and you want to keep it coming. I don't want to make a Patreon thing out of this where, there's all this extra content for people who pay and all that stuff. I just want people who are enjoying what we're doing now, which takes me many hours and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make. I just want you to, if the spirit moves you, if the spirit moves you, I want you to please contribute. You can also do a one-time thing. You don't have to subscribe. You could just send a one-time tip and just say, hey, man, here's $5. Go have a coffee on me or something. And that'd be great. But I appreciate it. So also just a reminder, check out my public relations show, PR After Hours, which is available wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on Anchor FM. And I have a lot of fun with that one too. PR, marketing, management, productivity, a little bit of creativity. We had some crossover too. We've had some guests that have appeared here on there. And have I had any appear on there that have appeared here that started there? One or two that started there that I think came here are going to come on this show too because of the creativity focus. But it's just so much fun. A couple of shout outs too. I don't say this enough. It's always in the show notes, but our theme music, Mysterious Goings On, is by Jamie Green, who's been a guest on the show. And if you want your own cool score for your podcast or website, just contact Jamie at Greenhouse Consulting. Link is in the show notes. And there's always a link to Jamie's interview on the show there too. And so those are a couple of the things I wanted to say. Your financial support is important, but here's two other things you can do. And there's, as I mentioned this previously, reminder, a 5-star review with, actually a worded review, saying why you like it is huge with 5 stars. But if you don't have time for that, just a starred review would be great. But it helps other people find us. And the more people that find us, the more our ratings go up, the more downloads go up. The more it's easier for me to attract sponsors. And I promise you, I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I'll have 1 million sponsors per show, but have 1 or 2 would be nice to kind of help pay for microphones and advertising to try to keep building our audience up. I was talking to you earlier as I started this conversation about that. And so it's important that I just say that if you review us, it's a big help. If you can't afford to put anything in the tip jar, surely you've got a couple of minutes, and don't call you Shirley, where you could just go in and give us a review on Apple Podcast in particular. That's the big one, Apple Podcast or Spotify. One of those two or both. Take you all of 2 or 3 minutes of your life, and it would be huge help to me. But that's the thing we're getting back to as I wrap up this conversation of one with you. I'm interviewing myself here. It's just, if you want to keep the show going, those are the little things that help us keep going. And it's as I began the conversation, I talked about how busy we are, and we're doing so well with publicists and with people wanting to be guests and downloads. But there's always kind of an urge to, like, something's got to give as you get older, and at least as I get older, and as I have obligations to earn a living, but also obligations to get a new book written. And I'm putting literally hours per week, as I've told you, into this podcast. But I don't want to cancel it or anything, but the urge was there, I believe it or not. And I did that before. Back in 06 to about 08, I had a political podcast that was, one of the few podcasts out there. I was getting some top guests and the New York Times best-selling authors, that kind of thing. And it just burned me out, though. And it was tougher to make a podcast back then. The tools weren't there. It was all this stuff. It was harder to do. And it was really hard to get people to listen. Well, if I kept doing that show, if I hadn't stopped in '08, and let's say I just kept it going till now, that show, I guarantee you, would be making money. I guarantee you I'd probably be doing podcasting at the very least as half of my income, I believe, if I'd done that, because that would have been 12 years ago that I kept going. So I have no intention of quitting MGO. PR After Hours, we'll see. But because it's going great too. But the thing is, we've got to build downloads. We've got to get more people listening. We got to kind of grow a little bit here, because as I say, you might say, "Oh, Alex, the more you grow, the busier you'll be, and it'll be tougher." Like, no, not necessarily. If we make a name, we start making money, I can afford to pay an engineer to edit the shows for me. That takes hours a week to do. I can maybe pay a publicity firm to start pushing things out and build the audience, and me not have to worry about that. And I can just focus on the thing I love to do most, which is finding and interviewing great guests and just telling you about what I'm doing, and spend a little more time focused on those things that I mentioned, like writing my own stuff and that. So that's kind of my big plan. Who knows if it'll work out? But that's why I just need you, good listener, who apparently care enough to listen to this point, to please review the show, share it with your friends on social media if you would. I have a great friend, Terry Matz, who shares so many of our shows that she likes. That's what I love about her. If she likes it, she pushes it out and tells you why. So it's such a joy and such a compliment. Those things are huge. If you can drop a few coins in the bucket, great. If you can buy my books, it's great. Go through the link that's on every episode. It just says, buy Alex's book here. Click there. You can go and you can buy all my books. If you've got them in paperback, you surely want them in ebook. If you've got them in ebook, you surely want them in paperback, right? And I'll just leave you with one last thing I'm going to do, and then I'll be quiet. Really thinking about revisiting audiobooks. The first book is out in audio form. Thinking about redoing the series doing the whole series. And I loved our reader then. He's great, but we might go with a female reader I'm talking to. Tell me how you feel about that. I'd love to know. You could put your reply in the show notes, or you can email me at alex@alexgpr.com, or just get on social. But I'm thinking very much about having a reader redo the whole thing, or do the first book again. And again, nothing against John, who did a fantastic job, but just a consistent reader through the whole thing, and offer them on Amazon as well. So let me know your thoughts on that. Are you a big enough John Pilot fan where you'd like to have them read as an audiobook? I've given some thought to reading them myself. I don't know. It's not like I don't know how to talk. It's not like I wasn't an actor for several years. I just don't know if maybe somebody who's a little better at this than me shouldn't get in there. We just don't know. I would tell you probably this though. If we do move forward, we find a reader, and we're going to go forward and offer all of them, I would probably read one of them myself. I would probably read Pilot 7, the book of short stories. I'd probably read that one. How about that? Love to know your thoughts. All right. Well, the clock on the wall is telling me that my next interview for PR After Hours is coming up in a few minutes. And wow, I am been talking for 40 minutes straight. So that's real good, Alex. Yeah, I've warmed up my vocal cords at least. I hope I didn't bore you too awful bad, but some of you asked for it. You wanted to hear me blab on. So that's what's going on. So now you know where we are with my book, where we are after my book, what I want to do with the series, what I want to do with this podcast. And the last thing I want to say is, what do you want? Is there something I can do for you? Is there something the show can do for you? Is there something you're looking for that the show can help you with? Is there a guest you recommend? Would you like to be a guest? All that stuff. You know how to find me. Alex@alexgpr.com. There is also on mgopod.com. When you go there, just go to there and scroll down. You'll see there's a header, and then you'll see show notes. Show notes are just every episode. Then you'll see where you can click to become a supporter. And then there'll be, by the way, the Pilots Cross film trailer is on there. And then there's also a shop where you can buy autographed books and merchandise. And there's a subscribe at the very bottom. Put your email in there and you'll get 10% off your first mystery novels purchased when you sign up for our Best Podcast newsletter, which we're going to start the newsletter pretty quickly, but you will at least also get notified by email whenever we have a new episode. So you can go there though, and you can go click on About the Show and contact us there. If you don't want to email me directly, you can just drop us a line through that box there under About the Show. Just scroll down and you'll find it. Okay, well, I've had a lot of fun getting a lot of stuff off my chest. I hope it hasn't been too dreadfully boring for you. Again, if you want to be an ARC reader, let me know. If you have suggestions, let me know. I'm open to communication here. But again, if you would share shows on social media, tell your friends about it, review us, rate and review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Donate if you can. If you want to advertise, if you're an author and you want to advertise, I can do a live read, or you can send me an audio file you record on your smartphone. I'll put some music under it and we'll give you a commercial. You talk to me. There are ways we can do this. Okay. All right. I think it's time I stop talking.
Thanks so much for listening to Mysterious Goings On. Don't forget we have a complete archive of all of our interviews, monologues, updates, live readings, dead readings. All of that stuff is available at mgopod.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Please join us there. Again, don't forget, mgopod.com also has links where to find me on social media and how to get in touch in case you want to be a guest here on the show. Well, I think it's time that I move on for this week, but until next time, keep reading.